Charlemagne the Great, the formation of the Roman Empire, and the Carolingian Dynasty. Only once in Western Europe's history do we see an effort to establish a unified, all-encompassing, sacred society, similar to that of the Byzantine culture or those in the Eastern world. This was the Carolingian Empire, envisioned as a community of all Christian people under the leadership of a theocratic monarchy, which sought to govern every aspect of life and thought, from the style of church singing to the rules of monasteries, through laws and government oversight. The Carolingian dynasty's rise to power in Europe. The Carolingian clan is a group of powerful Frankish leaders who ruled Western Europe during the early Middle Ages, 750 to 887 AD. The dynasty gets its name from the many family members named Charles, especially the legendary Charlemagne. The family rose to power as hereditary managers of the palace of the Frankish Kingdom of Austrasia. By the time of Pippin II of Herstal, who became manager in 679, they had made their Merovingian kings mere puppets. Pippin II gained control over the entire Frankish realm by defeating his Neustrian rival, Ebroin, in 687. When he died in 714, he left behind a legitimate heir, a 6-year-old child, and an illegitimate son, Charles Martel. By 725, Charles Martel was the ruler of the Franks, but kept up the illusion of Merovingian rule until 737. By 725, Charles the Hammer had become the big boss of the Franks. Even though he pretended the Merovingian king was still in charge until 737, when he let the throne stay empty after Theuderic IV kicked the bucket. Charles the Hammer died in 741, and his sons Pippin the Short and Carloman split the kingdom between them. When Carloman stepped down in 747, Pippin became the solo ruler. He was so powerful that in 750, he booted the last Merovingian, Childeric III, and got elected king by the Frankish nobles with Pope Zacharias' blessing. Pippin III died in 768, but his younger son Carloman's death 3 years later brought all the territories back under his elder son, Charles, aka Charlemagne. Charlemagne expanded the Frankish Empire by conquering most of Gaul, Germany, and Italy, and made friends with the Bohemians, Avars, Serbs, Croats, and other Eastern European groups. He formed an alliance with the Pope and created a papal state in central Italy in 774. On Christmas Day 800, Pope Leo III crowned him Roman Emperor of the new Roman Empire. The unity that Great Charles imposed on Western Europe, however, fell victim to the ancient Frankish custom of dividing the realm among all a deceased king's offspring. On the passing of Great Charles's sole surviving son and successor, Peaceful Louis, in 840, 3 of his sons clashed over the throne. In the Treaty of Verdun in 843, they settled to divide the empire into 3 realms. Western realm went to Charles the Bald One, Eastern realm to Louis the Germanic, and Middle realm, including the Italian provinces and Rome, went to Lothair, who also inherited the crown of emperor. Subsequent divisions of the 3 realms, along with the rise of new forces like the Norman Vikings and the Saxon warriors, chipped away at Charles's authority. The imperial title passed hands from Lothair to his son Louis II in 855, from Louis II to his uncle Charles the Bald One in 875, and, after a brief power vacuum following Charles's passing in 877, to Charles III the Heavy, the youngest son of Louis the Germanic, in 881. The kingdom and legacy of the Carolingian Empire. Though Charles the Strong chose not to take the title of king, as his son Pepin the Wise would, or emperor, as his grandson Charlemagne the Great, he was the supreme ruler of nearly all of today's mainland Western Europe north of the Pyrenees. Only the remaining Saxon territories, which he partly conquered, Lombardy, and the Spanish march south of the Pyrenees, were major additions to the Frankish realms after his death. Martel secured his place in history with his bravery against a Muslim army at the Battle of Tours in 732. The Iberian warriors had merged Berber horsemen with Arab knights to create an unbeatable army. Christian armies, however, lacked the powerful tool of the stirrup. In this triumph, Charles earned the nickname Martel, the Hammer. Historian Edward Gibbon hailed Charles Martel as the greatest leader of his era. Pepin the Wise accepted the nomination as king by Pope Zachary around 741. Charlemagne's rule began in 768 at Pepin's death. He went on to take control of the kingdom following his brother Carloman's death, as the two brothers co-inherited their father's kingdom. Charlemagne was crowned Roman emperor in the year 800. The populace of the empire was roughly between 10 and 20 million inhabitants. Its hub was Francia, the land between the Loire and the Rhine, where Aachen, Charlemagne's main residence, was situated. In the south, it spanned the Pyrenees and neighbored the Emirate of Córdoba, and, after 824, the Kingdom of Pamplona. To the north, it bordered the Kingdom of the Vikings. To the west, it had a short land border with Brittany, which later became a vassal. And to the east, it had a long border with the Slavs and the Avars, who were eventually conquered and their land absorbed into the empire. In southern Italy, the Carolingians' claims to authority were disputed by the Byzantines and the leftovers of the Lombard kingdom in the Principality of Benevento, Charlemagne's father, and the Papal States. He was the supreme Roman ruler from 747 to 814 and was also known as Carolus Magnus, Charles I, Charles the Grand, Charles the Great, and Karl der Grosse. Charlemagne was born around April 2nd, 747 and died January 28, 814 in Aachen, Austrasia, now in Germany. He was the king of the Franks, 768 to 814, king of the Lombards, 774 to 814, and first emperor, 800 to 814, of the Romans and what was later called the Holy Roman Empire. In the tumultuous era surrounding Charlemagne's birth, circa 742 or 747, his father, Pippin III the Short, wielded power behind the throne as mayor of the palace, secretly pulling the strings of the Merovingian kingdom. As a young prince, Charlemagne was groomed for greatness, learning the art of statecraft and warfare in the political hotbed of his father's court. The stage was set for a dramatic turn of events. In 751, Pippin seized the throne from Childeric III, and 2 years later, he forged a historic pact with Pope Stephen II, pledging to protect Rome in exchange for papal blessing. The fate of the Frankish kingdom hung in the balance as Pippin battled Lombard threats in 755 and 756, ultimately gifting the papacy a vast swathe of Italian territory that would become the Papal States. In 768, at Pippin's death, his kingdom was divided among his two sons, Charlemagne and Carloman, like a sword torn asunder. The rivalry between the brothers ignited a fire that threatened to consume the Frankish kingdom. Charlemagne, cunning and ambitious, forged a secret alliance with Desiderius, the cunning king of the Lombards, sealing their pact with the hand of the king's daughter in marriage. But little did he know, this move would upset the fragile balance of power in Italy, threatening the sacred alliance between Pippin and the papacy. Fate intervened in 771, claiming Carloman's life and ending the brewing crisis. Seizing the opportunity, Charlemagne swept aside his brother's heirs, claiming the entire realm for himself and forging a new era of Frankish dominance. The reign of Charlemagne, 768 to 814. Imagine a Europe reshaped by the iron will of Charlemagne, whose vast Carolingian empire rivaled the grandeur of the Roman Empire. Unlike the Romans, whose fleeting presence between the Rhine and the Elbe was crushed at Teutoburg Forest, 9 AD, Charlemagne vanquished the Germanic tribes, extending his realm to the Elbe and influencing events as far as the Russian steppes. Charlemagne's reign was a whirlwind of conquests, with annual campaigns that often saw him leading the charge. He crushed the Lombard kingdom in 774, assuming the title King of the Lombards. His daring but doomed invasion of Spain in 778 ended in the legendary Battle of Roncesvalles Pass, his greatest defeat. Yet, he rebounded, absorbing Bavaria in 794 after forcing Tassilo III, Duke of Bavaria, to renounce any claim to his title and crushing the Avars in 803. His relentless wars and rebellions against the Saxons, 772 to 804, left an indelible mark, including the infamous massacre of Verdun in 782 and the promulgation of the Lex Saxonum in 802. Leading up to Charlemagne's demise, the empire was torn asunder, its territories divided among the powerful Carolingian Dynasty. King Charles the Younger, Charlemagne's son, claimed Neustria as his own, while King Louis the Pious, the emperor's chosen heir, governed Aquitaine. Meanwhile, King Pepin, Charlemagne's nephew, ruled over Italy, but his untimely death in 810 left his illegitimate son Bernard as heir. Charles's demise in 811 further complicated the succession crisis, but Bernard's ascension to the Italian throne was short-lived. As Louis was crowned co-emperor in 813, the stage was set for a dramatic power struggle, culminating in Louis's ascension to the throne following Charlemagne's passing in the winter of 814. Conclusion: Charlemagne and the Carolingian dynasty were a unique episode in European history, marked by significant cultural achievements. These accomplishments were largely due to contributions from outside the empire, including Alcuin from England and Theodulf from Spain. Except for this period of unitary organization which forged the Roman Empire, the Christian Church devotes, not so much the church organization itself, was the only uniting force for Western culture, providing social unity across Europe. This had a lasting impact on Western development. Thank you for watching. Please like and share this video. Kindly subscribe for more intriguing videos. Lessons Untold. Relax, review, reflect.